Awesome. Well, hi, I'm Taylor Bohmann. I'm the Senior Director of Sales at Influential, and I'd like to welcome you to the Influencer Marketing Panel, where no topic is off limit when it comes to social media and influencer marketing. This panel is for agency and brand direct marketers to gain more knowledge within the influencer industry, and it's also for influencers who are looking to break into the influencer world and secure brand deals. We will discuss diversity, effects on social media has on young girls, return on investment with influencers, and so much more. I'd like to introduce our two panelists, Noelia Kahayas, Head of Global PR and Influencer Strategy at Hollister, Gilly Hicks, and Social Tourist. Noelia is brand communication, social media, and influencer strategy thought leader with a deep love for telling meaningful, multi-channel, and culturally relevant brand stories that spark brand advocacy among diverse Gen Z and millennial audiences. Her experience spans from startup to agency to in-house at renowned global brands like Red Bull. Next but not least, we have Mary Hill, Director of Influencer Marketing at Initiative. With her 10+ astonishing career in custom media, Mary has worked with such notable brands as the Coca-Cola Company, Nintendo, Unilever, and T-Mobile, to name just a few. Mary launched her career client-side at Sony Pictures, a position that prepared her to transition agency-side to produce award-winning influencer and digital media campaigns. Most notable is Dove's The Crown Act, a campaign that seeks to end ethnic hair discrimination within the workplace and schools. And again, this is a panel conversation, so we're going to switch off between Mary and Noelia. And I would like to start asking Mary a question. We're going to talk about always on and tentpole moments within influencer marketing. Again, always on is having an always on strategy throughout the entire year, so January to December. And then the tentpole moments would be those bigger activations within agencies and brand direct, which would include a product launch, co-collaborations, or a special campaign like a spring campaign that is coming up or back to school. So Mary, you're up first. Mary, if you had one budget, a budget of $1 million, we'll say, and you could choose to put that budget towards an always on influencer strategy or influencer activation with those tentpole moments, which would you select? Again, you can only select one. And what is your reasoning behind your selection?
This feels like if you get the wrong answer, you're not going to win on the Survivor Challenge or something. But yeah, thanks for having me. I would say I would choose an always on strategy because that's the trend our industry is in right now. And I project it's going to stay there. And I think the good thing about using an always on strategy is that you can bake in those tentpole moments and the other activations that you spoke of throughout the year. I think another good thing about always on is that if you have talent for a full year, like you spoke of, you can also have that paid media to boost within the downtimes when they're not creating organic content. And then you can also integrate their authentic content into other media channels on the plan, some of which could be a tentpole activation. So I think I'm going to go with always on.
I couldn't agree more, Mary. I think always on is definitely the way to go. Again, you could only choose one out of the two, but both are just as important as the other. Thank you for answering that. The next topic, we're going to talk about the top social platform. And again, this varies with your experience with an agency and brand direct. Obviously, the biggest platform that everyone is talking about is TikTok. We're going to have both of you guys answer this questions. We're going to start with Noelia first. In your opinion, what is the leading social platform? It could be Instagram, Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, where influencers stand out the most and help brands shine through the noise?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Great question. I mean, on its face, it depends on your goals, right? And your audience. For us at Hollister, we do focus on Gen Z specifically and that youth consumer. So, I mean, we love TikTok, we love Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, have great relationships with all the above. Personally, I have a soft spot in my heart for TikTok because of the discoverability of the platform, the ability for creators to break into virality that is unlike other platforms. And I also love the communities and the micro communities on TikTok that I think are really special and really powerful. We've also done some really cool stuff with TikTok as a partner, like the first TikTok fashion show made by Gen Z for Gen Z with Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio for our brand Social Tourist that we launched last year. And that one was amazing to kind of play around with the commerce functionalities, that integration, the interactivity with the fans. And we had a lot of great success with that. It beat our benchmarks and it beat TikTok's benchmarks. So definitely a soft spot for TikTok personally.
I couldn't agree more. So I used to work at TikTok. I think some fellow TikTok coworkers are on, but I absolutely loved that live shopping you guys had on the runway with the D'Amelio sisters. I thought that was amazing, and you guys are definitely leading the retail innovation industry, just within social in general. And Mary, do you have the same opinion, or do you have a different opinion on your favorite?
I would say both. I agree that it depends on your audience. It also depends on the KPI, the key performance indicator. So if you are looking for engagement, it's best to go on a platform where engagement is welcomed beyond, the vanity metrics of likes and shares, so TikTok challenges and things like that. And especially for Gen Z would be the place to go. Can't say I have a soft spot for TikTok. I appreciate the platform for all it does and all it's continuing to do, but I do think there are some algorithm that hiccups that they could improve to ensure that BIPOC creators, those that are creating the content that ultimately goes viral, surface more to the top in that search versus the really high arching influencers that are kind of taking that credit and then in turn getting the other brand endorsements. So I know TikTok is actively working to course correct that with, fostering relationships with Black and Latinx and Hispanic creators. So I have no doubt that they're on their way and on the rise, but my soft spot is Instagram. Besides that, I'm just a photography head by heart. It's my passion. So there's so much more to be said in photography in one scenic image than in video. But that's just my personal opinion. I can work with either one, and all platforms have what it takes depending on what you need.
Yeah, I was going to say my favorite is TikTok, but I personally definitely use Instagram more. So I totally see where you're coming from. And Mary, kind of just going off that as well, could you go over like a multi-channel approach, or maybe like a past campaign you've worked on where it just wasn't one channel like Instagram or TikTok, but it was all like YouTube, even Twitter?
For sure. Yeah, I think another area we are going with most of our clients / brands is picking the best influencer and not just baking in, this is going to be a TikTok activation. Really determine the best influencer, the most relevant one first, and then wherever they are best performing, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Triller, we work with them on that platform. So when I first started off, it was very much so, what's your KPI, what's your audience, and what's your platform? Sold in, it's cemented in, but now it's, no, who's the most relevant influencer that's going to get our audience's attention in the way we need them to? And then let's work with them on the platform where they perform best.
I love that. Couldn't agree more. All right. So next we're going to talk about Hollister's influencer marketing journey. We already kind of touched on this, like Hollister, Abercrombie & Fitch, they're leading. I personally think they're leading within the retail industry on all social platforms. So Noelia, Hollister, Gilly Hicks, they've really reinvented their brand image with the help of celebrities and influencers. So how did those influencers kind of like help shape the company? And what has Hollister learned throughout that entire journey?
I think we're huge believers in human-powered brand building, right? So letting the people that are fans of the brand speak for us and really tell those stories. I think that's incredibly powerful. Influencers are a really integral part of our strategy across all of our brands. Again, our target audience is that global high school age teen, and our focus is really on being where they are and understanding who influences them, what do they love, and how can we add value to their lives? And one of the best ways we've learned to do that is by co-creation. So partnering directly with Gen Z to support their passions, to create product, to launch campaigns, and also launch brands. And I think a great example of that is Social Tourist, which we launched with the D'Amelios. So people, partnering with people is at the heart of everything we do. And we say it ad nauseum internally, and we've seen a lot of success there.
I couldn't agree more. I think co-collaborations are huge, and it shows on all social platforms that influencer content performs the best. So why wouldn't, brands collaborate with influencers, even on those bigger activations? And kind of going back to the Social Tourist, I think that's so interesting that that whole brand was came to fruition through the D'Amelio sisters. So how did that come? How was that brand created? And obviously you guys are still working with them. So what do you guys see for the future of Social Tourist?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, again, a great example of our philosophy on influencer marketing, which comes down to building symbiotic relationships that are long-term. So the girls are a great example of that. This is born out of a back to school campaign with them that grew into so much more. And that just came down to talking with them, building relationships with them, understanding what are your goals? What do you want to do? And then those goals aligned, and we pulled the trigger, we went for it. And it's been amazing to work with them. We're coming upon our 1-year anniversary in May. So super, super excited about that. And there's a lot of really exciting things in the pipeline that I can't share, but we're excited about, and we'll be announcing in the coming months.
I can't
We'll
wait.
make sure to follow and like and engage when it is announced.
Please do.
Yes, I definitely will. So our next topic is all about young, ambitious women and mentorship. Mary, we'll start with you. So the influencer industry is booming, and companies are finally realizing the potential of influencer marketing. It's not going to go anywhere. I remember a few years back when I was at another influencer marketing company, everyone's like, I don't like influencers. I don't want to work with them. They're going to go away. But they're here to stay. And college students are also realizing that this is a great industry to get into, to have like a very promising career. So let's say a young woman just graduated from college and is like applying to those entry-level influencer and social media marketing positions. In your experience working at top brands and agencies, what advice would you give her to like applying to a new job, like how to get that interview and secure that position?
Yeah, well, I think that's an easier one to answer because of the agency I work for. At Initiative, we pride ourselves into bringing your true self to work. Don't just leave you at the door, bring all of you in, whether it's your bright pink hair, your influencer TikTok following, like bring it in, because yes, you will be behind the scenes, not the consumer, but you are the consumer in other ways. And so your true opinion outside of your education and your skill sets is what brands want as well. So you can have myself who, as you know, TikTok, I'm more Instagram than I am TikTok. But if I have a young college student or entry-level person coming in who their soft spot is TikTok and they're on TikTok, then I am going to pull them in and sit them down at the table with me and use their insights beyond their knowledge and skill set, because that is just important as what they can bring to the table from a resume perspective. So that's what I would encourage women, no matter the industry, just come in realizing that you have transferable skills, whether you have a job on your resume or not. You have so much experience that you may not realize you have. So really just dive deep and find that, and feel free to speak up and lean in those rooms where you can.
I would say definitely the traditional resume is still present.
Yes.
But those entry level, those younger Gen Z millennials are coming up with so many creative, innovative ways to really stand out to brands, whether it's like Instagram Reels, just posting about it on Instagram and actually tagging the brand, or doing like a fun TikTok video. That's how people are getting hired now, which is crazy. And when I was at TikTok, people were actually hiring TikTok to help them with their recruiting campaigns, which is crazy to think about. And Noelia, this is kind of the same the genre we're going to be in, but how would you mentor a college student or, young professional, again, trying to break into the industry?
Yeah, honestly, I'd say similar things. I think top level, the obvious, right? Apply, 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 customize your resume. Every resume you submit should be different, customized fully to the JD, talk to everyone you can, alumni from your school, coffee chats, just fully outreach. But I'll also add, again, something similar, that the exciting thing about the industry is that it is still young, right? And expertise is accessible. So I remember when I was first applying to a job in industry, I mean, I didn't really know honestly what it was. They asked me what was my favorite influencer, and I was like Googling on the phone, like, oh, it's this person. Got the job, don't know how, right? But it is so long ago. I mean, it was so early that there was a huge opportunity. There wasn't anyone with 20 years influencer marketing experience. Those people didn't exist. So that was a huge opportunity for a young person to really rise the ranks really quickly and own that expertise. And there's similar thing exists here today, just in a different lens, right? Similar to what Mary said. There's so many ways to have expertise in influencer marketing that's not official, right? Whether you're a micro influencer or you're obsessed with beauty TikTok, there's so many ways to show value there. You just need to really flex that and lean into that. And as someone who has been hiring, right, for roles for the last several years, and specifically now for people that are experts in TikTok, it's hard to find. It's really, really hard to find. So it's a huge value. Just lean into that.
Yeah, I would also say that a lot of companies are asking for, 4+ years of experience at entry level positions as well. I've seen a lot of LinkedIn posts recently about this, where, as you just mentioned, Noelia and Mary, that, those Gen Z and those millennials coming into those positions are on it every day for like 2 to 3 hours. So maybe we should raise that bar down a little bit, maybe 1 year experience, or just a social media, a love for social media and content creation.
Yeah, and then also the candidate can preface that, for my 4 years of experience isn't desk experience, it's social experience. And I'm familiar with writing copy and creating, there's so many ways on both ends. And that's where the importance of comes in, because we, as mentors, should be helping our mentees customize their resumes, like you just mentioned, to ensure that 4 years experience, it doesn't necessarily mean job experience. It could be real world, depending on how you word it, right? All PR.
Exactly. That's why everyone should have a mentor within the industry. And if you don't know anyone in the industry, I would definitely recommend just reaching out on LinkedIn. I feel like I've connected with so many individuals in Chicago on there, born and raised in Milwaukee. When I was just coming up within the world, you're surprised, honestly, how many people will respond and say, yeah, let's grab a coffee, and let's get to know each other better and learn the industry more.
And one last comment, kind of funny story. Actually, one of my friends that I'm going to see next week, that's how we met. She reached out on LinkedIn and she was like, hey, love your career. We, like, I am also Latina, like, let's talk. And now we're also friends. So lots of opportunities to connect with people depending on your background. And again, your alumni, like, it's a lot more accessible than you might think.
Couldn't agree more. All right, Mary, you've worked at lots of amazing agencies and companies. So we're going to talk about kind of like influencer marketing strategy based on verticals. Can you share an influencer marketing strategy you have implemented for a specific vertical? For example, if you're working with a CPG client, what strategy have you executed for that brand?
Okay, yeah, can't speak with specific brands, but I'll take the example of CPG. Those type of brands are really big on brand exclusivity, because that market is a bit oversaturated, especially for social and influencer media. So we at Initiative, we have an overall strategy, but it's not cookie cutter. It has to be customized per vertical or category. So for a CPG example, because they're very concerned with the competitive landscape, we bake into the strategy confirmation that whatever influencers we're identifying have not worked with any of their competitors or will work with any of their competitors within an exclusivity window that we determine in our contracts. So that's one way. And then we also have proprietary data tools that can also weed out the truth versus the faux. So there's always that. I think another category of vertical would be pharmaceutical. Believe it or not, that is a very, very, very rapidly growing vertical for influencer media, but it's also, it can be scary, outside of FTC regulations, you have FDA regulations and what's right and what's wrong. And the great thing about influential, I have to shout you all out, you really know those regulations just as well as we do. So you help us tailor the strategy for whatever client we're working with. I think an example to suffice your answer would be understanding branded versus unbranded, especially in the pharmaceutical space. So we really have to tailor our strategy for branded to make sure, if a brand is mentioned, they have to be a patient or they have to be a healthcare professional to talk about it. If it's unbranded, they don't have to be. They can be a caregiver or a friend that has been affected by it. So it's like those little nuances that you have to adjust depending on the vertical.
Couldn't agree more. Brand safety is huge. I don't have a lot of experience in pharmaceuticals, but I couldn't agree more with the brand and the unbranded content. We're going to dive into brand safety since we're on the topic. Noelia, how does Hollister vet influencers for campaigns? I'm super curious. And what steps do you take to ensure the influencer follows those brand guidelines and is considered brand safe when posting?
Yeah, and it's pretty robust. We vet across brand fit, content fit, and audience fit, and each one of those has various categories and various guidelines established across each and every one of our brands. So that's pretty robust. So that's kind of the first step, right? Ensuring that the creator is brand aligned and brand safe. First check mark. I think the second is just ensuring that the creator understands your brand, understands the do's and don'ts, guidelines, right? Giving that information and ensuring that they have those tools in order to be able to develop that content for you. And then the last layer is just approvals. Any paid program for us, we approve every single piece of content. So honestly, we haven't seen any issues, knock on wood, yet on that, but we found with those kind of 3 check marks that we're able to set expectations and get content that fits those expectations.
I was going to say you have a very robust team at Hollister and Abercrombie where you guys can monitor and give the influencers a creative freedom to still create, but then again, follow those brand guidelines. And a hot topic that everyone's going to be covering throughout the panels and the fireside chats is inclusivity, diversity. So let's talk about it. Mary, we'll let you start off. So many brands are reinventing their brand image and promoting inclusivity, sorry, I need another cup of coffee, and diversity on social media. So how can brands, utilize diverse influencers to create change on social media and actually impact society offline as well?
Yeah, that is a loaded one. I would say the biggest thing is, it's the low-hanging fruit is for brands to come in when the timing is right versus when the timing is awkward and followers and consumers are thirsty for some type of guidance and inspiration. I think a good example of that is, let's take LGBTQ IA plus community. It's one thing, there's so many brands that jump in during Pride, but then they hop in and they hop out versus staying long-term and really investing. So that is one key way to do that. And not just in an overall media creative strategy, but incorporating influencers that are of those communities. I think a good example of that is P&G's My Black is Beautiful evergreen campaign. That is a purpose campaign, not a product campaign. So it's always on. They're promoting their main consumers and just really exemplifying beauty, what it is, what it isn't, Black beauty, how it could be embraced and encouraged just as much as it is, used and seen in a negative light, so that's an evergreen campaign that pushes purpose, not product. Another good example is Dove, the Crown Act. They are pushing legislation to literally make it illegal for companies to make someone feel like them bringing their true ethnic, authentic self to work is literally illegal now on a federal level. So it's things like that brands can do. And it goes back to what you said earlier on, always on, Hollister's approach of long-term investing. When you're in it and you stay, you do more than reach that campaign awareness or engagement play. You build brand loyalty and love and respect, like all of those metrics that aren't always measured, but you keep the consumer's hearts, not just their attention. So I think I said that. And then I also do want to give out a shout out to TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, all the social media platforms that are going beyond the actual influencers and updating their algorithms, fostering influencers on a BIPOC level, like educating them and training them and taking the talent that they already have and helping them amplify it behind the camera. And then we have media partners and influencer networks like yourself that go beyond the influencer and work with BIPOC production companies and creative agencies. So it definitely takes a village to make this work. But I would say the short answer is an always on approach with people of the community, not just speaking to the community.
Thank you. That was like the best answer I could have ever hoped for.
Thank you. I'm here to influence.
Yes, influence away. Let's talk about creators and how they actually create. Noelia, we'll start with you. So do you think creators and influencers should have the capability to create content, again, with their authentic voice and help steer the direction of that content that they post on behalf of the brand? Or is there like a fine line again? Or should the brand provide like a brand brief? What's like too much direction and what's like not enough direction? I've heard horror stories with working with influencers, the content not coming out right. So what does Hollister do?
Yeah, I mean, the magic is really in that balance, right? In a true partnership with your creators. And the goal, right, is to create content that story tells the brand through the creator. So we're the expert on the brand, the creator is the expert on their content creation and their audience, right? So it really is the fusion of that together that creates powerful, powerful content. For us, most of our programs, our paid programs, are all long-term. So we're in a unique position that we're able to just iterate like across months and really talk to these creators and give feedback and ideate and brainstorm together, which is awesome. But I think top level, just again, making sure that the creator understands what you're trying to do, right? Like, what are the goals for the content, as well as giving them loose creative guidelines, right? They need to know what they're doing, like top level, like any like artist, like any professional, to help get them started, but allowing them that flexibility, right? So the key for me is finding ways to fold the brand into the content or the creator's voice and content, not the other way around. So not trying to force the creator's voice back into an overly prescriptive, obviously sponsored piece of content. And when you mix that, when you get that quite right, again, there's no like perfect formula, right? It is really an art sometimes and a little bit of a science. Again, that's where really the magic happens. And we've seen a lot of success working that way.
I would say consumers are very smart now. Not that they weren't smart back in the day, but consumers are getting more and more smart, where they can tell if an influencer is working with the brand, if it's scripted versus, again, when they're using their authentic voice, but still helping the brand drive impact or drive sales or awareness or whatever their KPI is. And I have a question as well. Let's say you're working with those amazing creators at Hollister, and the first time they take a stab at creating content, it isn't right, or like, do you have like a revision process? Like, what's too many revisions if the influencer doesn't get it quite right the first time?
Yeah, we have one. I mean, I think if it's more than one, then maybe you're not briefing correctly, right? Like, you have to take responsibility for that as well, and be a good partner. Right. And I also started off at agency, so I've kind of seen both sides. So for us, we do have revisions, but also, like I said, we iterate over time. So there's been times where, actually was just on a panel at YMS last week talking about this, where we work with a creator and it was his first, and again, we have this program called Hollister Good Vibras, which is supports rising Latinx creators. So a lot of those creators, their first time brand deal, like first time, they don't really know like what is expected, right? So a lot of that is working with them. And he came in thinking, oh, they want me to do this, right? Assumptions, like they want me to hold up the Hollister shirt and say, I love Hollister. He really wanted to do a good job. So it just took talking to him to be like, no, we trust you. We're working with you for a reason because you're so talented and you're amazing at what you do. And once we had that back and forth and that touch point, the content just got so much better because again, like he fully understood what he was trying to do and we were able to kind of fuse that. So again, like that balance is key. And understanding that we're all humans, right? Like we're all humans, like there's a lot of communication that's important on both sides, not just theirs, right? So the brand really does need to take a lot of responsibility.
I was going to say, you're still working with an influencer. I love how we started with like the Hollister shirt out, right? And then I'm sure his content got so much better as time went on.
Yeah, so that was actually our long-term program. So Good Vibras is a long-term program. So that was his first month with us. And then month over month, it just got better and better. He got more comfortable. And we brought him in again. We were at a panel at YMS together last week talking about that process together. And it's just so beautiful. I mean, we're friends now, right? Like it's all about relationships. So I love that progress in that journey. And we have different journeys depending on the creator, right? Depending on how much experience they have. But I think at its core, that communication, that relationship building really makes the difference.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about relationships in this business. Mary, I'm going to hit you with one of the hardest questions we have on this panel. The effect social media has on young girls. Again, this could be negative, positive. It could be both. So Mary, again, young people have more access to social media than ever before. They are consumers, creators, or both on all of these social platforms. And unfortunately, social media addiction is real. And young girls and young boys, spend most of their screen time scrolling through these Instagram and TikTok For You pages. So what do you think about social media for young girls? Is it positive, negative? Could it be both? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the tough answer to that is that it is both, and the solutions vary. I think it's very easy to point the finger at the social media platforms, but that's not fair. It's social media platforms, it's the brand messaging we're throwing out there. So it definitely, it's the parents for not monitoring, who they're following and how long they're on. So it is definitely, the finger is everywhere, but the solutions can be everywhere as well. So I guess a good example is the My Black is Beautiful campaign. Again, I'll bring it up, and you would think I worked on it because I keep bringing it up, but it's just they have me as consumer because of this campaign, right? And it's one of the going back to brands, not just splashing in one moment, but staying long term. So imagine yourself being a young girl and you're scrolling through all this content. You're not seeing yourself reflected in a good light, but a poor light and a negative light, or someone taking your style and you're being a culture vulture to your style, but downing you when you embrace the same type of culture. So you're scrolling, you're seeing all of that negative. And then you see a campaign, My Black is Beautiful. So it's like they boldly splash into the space and just reiterate you, hey, young girl, you have your magic. You can keep scrolling till you see something you like, or unfollow or take a break, So yes, the effects are real. They are harsh, but going back to the community, all platforms, brands, and partners like yourself are acknowledging that and are really thinking through solutions in the content that we produce.
Again, you're just killing it here, Mary.
Do I get a prize? Do we get a prize after this?
I could look into getting some swag sent to you guys.
From Hollister, preferably.
Yes, we have 3 questions left. We only have a few more minutes here. So we had a question come through. Again, if you have questions, feel free to shoot them over to us right now. So a question for you too, what tools and platforms do you use to find influencers for your campaigns? And Noelia, I'll let you take that one first.
Sure. It's a combination of a few things. We use CIQ. We've also used other tech platforms in the past. We used famous birthdays to measure kind of like spikes over time, relevance. We use an agency, so we have an AOR, and then just everyone on my team is just always online. So I'll be scrolling through TikTok, I'll like a creator, like, oh, I think this person would be perfect for this, right? And then we just funnel it all into a list. So I would say all of the above.
And hopefully influential soon. Had to say that. Mary, do you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. It is definitely a cross between science and art coming together. So on our end, you know, we're a media agency for our clients. So we have data-backed tools that can identify influencers based on, you know, their cultural relevance, demographic, psychographic details. We have partners like Influential who have tools like that as well. So, you know, it takes all of those tools, but you do have to have that human layer too. Just because someone's data makes sense doesn't mean that they make sense. It all comes down into how they project the content and if it ultimately fits with the brand's DNA. So a mixture of human and a mixture of science.
I love that. Thank you. So one of our last questions that I see one more coming in, return on investment with influencers. This is huge. Again, this is for both of you. So influencers are proven to drive, you know, impact and business results now. So no, brands are longer looking at likes, comments, video views. I mean, all of that is still important, but there are other ways now. So how is your team proving ROI with influencers at Initiative and Hollister?
I can kick it off. Yeah, I mean, I would say, again, maybe a hot take. I think likes, comments, views are still important. I mean, they still tell you something, right? I think if your goal is awareness, you just need to go deeper, right? You can't measure in a silo. I'm a huge believer in that. You need a variety of things to help tell that story. And you really need to know like what the program is for. What are the KPIs for? So for our top funnel programs, we report on, yes, impressions and engagement, but we also go deeper. We look at sentiment. We look at, yes, people are engaging with it. What are they actually saying, right? We also look at share of voice. We do brand lift studies, right? To get that much deeper. We look at virality, we look at shareability. So there's a variety of different metrics that help tell that story. However, we also have dedicated bottom funnel affiliates programs on the influencer side of things. And that measurement looks very different. So then we're looking at click-throughs, we're looking at sales, and we're also going deeper and looking at customer quality of those folks that are coming in. So average a value of cart and new to file and all of that good stuff. And we have programs in between. So I'd say that, right, like understanding what you want to do with a program is incredibly important. And then we also can't forget about things like added value, like the fact that you can reuse your content, again, that help tell the full story of the value of your influencer program. And that's really what distinguishes an influencer program from an ad buy. So I want to kind of underscore that as well.
It's like Mary.
Oh, sorry.
We're up.
I love this conversation. It was so inspiring, so many gems. Both of you guys said that you took a people first or influencer first approach. And like, that is just the magic, the special sauce to creating authentic content experiences across the board. And it sounds like you guys are both doing it. And this was a fantastic first session. So I thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you back again because I feel like we can talk forever and ever about this particular topic. But thanks again so much for joining us today. Thank you, Taylor, Noelia, Mary, appreciate it.